Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. As always, Scott Carson, jacked up to be here today. Got a very special guest on here. Uh, Not only he is an active real estate investor, he's also a military veteran, and he is the founder of Hammerhead Capital. Now, he specializes in fix and flips, the BRRRR strategy, and multifamily projects. He's also got a background in lending and deal structuring. So we're excited to have him on to talk about some of these different strategies that are and how they're working in today's world. Now, who am I talking about? He is like I said, he's the jack of all trades, the chief bottle washer, the man, the legend. Who am I talking about? Wendell Butler. What's going on, man? How you doing today?
Doing good. I'm doing good, Scott. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a blast to talk with you. You came on my podcast. You just good energy all around, so I love it. Excited to chat about it a little bit, chat about just life and real estate and just deals.
Yeah, exactly. You and I are both deal junkies, and we've been like that for a while. First of all, thank you for your service.
Oh,
What uh,
appreciate
what
it.
what
Yeah.
what branch of the military?
I was in the Army National Guard for a little bit. Did infantry to start. Was in the Mountain Division, so 182nd Division out of Providence, Rhode Island, and then I got into the medical field. So I was a medical officer, commissioned as a medical officer for a little bit, and then found my way out of the military after about 7 years. So spent some time in there. It was fun.
Very nice. And then what led you to diving into the entrepreneurial route of being a real estate investor?
Yeah, I think just like I had. I always thought of just getting into the medical field, and I was going to get my physician assistant's license and go to, further my schooling. But then I realized I just don't like school. I just don't. I don't know. I look back at my bachelor degree, and I was like, did I even enjoy that? Nah, no. And I was like, okay, so I should probably like pump the brakes a little bit and just see what else there is, right? I had a couple friends that were like entrepreneurial. They did e-commerce stuff. So I hung out with them for a little bit, moved to Miami, and I saw like there's different ways to make money other than doing like traditional 9 to 5 or going, more back to school, things like that. And then I found myself just reading about real estate. I found bigger pockets and things like that, and it interested me. And then, but not quite yet. But it's enough to the point that got into sales. And in sales, I was like, wow, there's like more freedom in sales than anything else. I'm kind of making my own schedule. This is awesome. And then that turned into me getting into lending, learning more about real estate. And then eventually, after a few years of being, conventional lender, hard money lender, etc., I just took the full leap into investing. And I was investing like as I was doing those things too. So I kind of used that as a crutch to like learn and invest, and not just jump in like, head first without like, any experience. So I took kind of like the slow roll, but it worked out for me. And that's kind of short story of how I got into real estate, basically.
Well, but I think when you have a lending background and you understand how money works and you see what's working, especially going from conventional to like hard money and private lending, it prepares you to be a real estate investor a little bit better versus just going in cold turkey, right? Because you kind of see the different ways that you can get things structured in finance, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. If you can think like a lender, I tell everybody that wants to get into real estate and they're like, I want to be like a real estate investor. I want to do this, this, this. I always tell them like, hey, just be a lender for a little bit because if you understand how financing works, the banks work, even like private money lenders, hard money lenders work and how they think, you can one understand what deals are good and what are bad pretty quickly because most of them don't take bad deals. So you'll be able to just understand what's a bad deal and what's a good deal. Um, and then you also understand kind of how they structure it. So then you can learn how to structure it and you get really creative with it too. So you understand what they're looking for, how creative you can get on your side to get deals done. And like in this market, it's tough. So you need to be very creative and figure out ways to make deals work. You can't just go in and be like, I'm going to buy this for this. I mean, some deals you can for sure, but it's a lot more complicated. You kind of got to make deals in this market in a way. So I always tell people like, yeah, if you understand the background of financing and lending, it just sets you farther apart than most people that go the opposite way of going into investing and then learning about the financing after. I think it's the best like stepping stone to get into it.
Totally makes sense. What are you focused on more now as an investor? What specific niches are you finding yourself spending more time on right now?
Yeah, so I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I moved here from
The
New
Queen
England.
City, baby. The Queen City,
Yeah,
yeah.
Queen City. So when I moved here, I had a multifamily background from New England because New England has just a ton of multifamily. That's all there is. So I understood that very well. But when I moved here, there just wasn't as much opportunity with like multifamily. There was like newer construction multifamily, but I'm a value add type guy. I don't have like millions of dollars to put into, a two cap or three cap property and take the tax advantages and be happy with it. I'm trying to build that money to be able to do that.
Right? You're not from California, where they would slice their grandmother's throat for a three cap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. So when I moved here, I realized, yeah, multifamily just is not enough deals to like satisfy what I'm trying to do, right? I still look for them, but it's just they're hard to come by. So I realized, hey, there's a lot of people moving here daily. I think there's like 180 people that move here every day. The supply is low because there's not as many builders building, at least during the time that I moved here. So I was like, hey, a fix and flip is a great opportunity because there's a lot of older houses here. They're like in the
Yeah.
70s built, so they're not crazy old and they're pretty easy to flip. And another one is new build construction. And then land entitlement and land flipping, things like that. So I focused on that, and that's where I've been building part of my business arm, I would call it, to be able to systemize that to the point that it's creating more active income for me. So then I can go invest in and open up other businesses in other realms like lending, more multifamily long-term holds, even invest in some notes, things like that. But yeah, I've been focusing mostly on like the quick turn, fix and flip, wholesale, new build, for now.
No, it totally makes sense. Charlotte, I totally agree that. Spend some time in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte and North Carolina, some of my favorite markets. I was actually on a Friday night in Hickory, Texas, or no, Taylorsville, Texas, at a lawnmower race with 3,000 people. At the whole town was like empty except for the lawnmower tractor race, and you
Yeah.
had 30 different churches. All the ministers racing each other for the local food bank. It was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen, but that's kind of a regular thing, and where NASCAR was invented back in Charlotte.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny to see like the souped up tractors. Just like it's like, damn, that thing really goes that fast. It's they're
Or
fun to
seeing
watch too
little
because you're
kid,
just like, what?
yeah, seeing little kids getting on a lawnmower that goes 50 miles an hour down the road is kind of hilarious.
It's wild. It's wild. Yeah. I mean, we have fun. The South, you have fun in the South.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I agree. Yeah, I mean, Charlotte's is a very growing market. I mean, you've got, Concord's done well there. You got Hickory's growing, Lenore, a lot of those areas around there. But I not,
Mhm.
and also South Carolina. A lot of people have moved from investing in Florida up into South Carolina and the Carolinas, because it's a better bang for their buck and stuff like that. And I agree, you get a lot of those like three bedroom, one bath kind of brick houses that need some upkeep because it is an older
Mhm.
neighborhood feeling kind of a lot of cases, right?
Yeah, it's more like I come across a lot of I call it grandma clean houses. So like they're houses that are maybe not been updated since like the 90s or so, but it's like an easy flip. So it's not like you're rebuilding the whole property or doing like a full scrape or something. It's just you just gotta update the kitchen bathrooms and change the floor paint and then modernize it a little bit and you can turn it pretty fast. So like I like those a lot. In the older areas like New England and stuff, like you got like houses from like the 1900s and even 1800s, which I will say they're built better than t the ones today. Like they last a long time and they like nothing can knock them down. Like they're built fantastic. But they are a little bit more pricey, a little bit more scary, I would say, for some people because of how much you need to do there. And like the old wiring, old plumbing, like the old even drywall. They use like horsehair plaster and stuff like that. Like people just don't enjoy that. Um and it's different. It takes longer up there, but I mean, just like with any market, like New England, they're more expensive. You got a bigger spread. Like Charlotte is it's less expensive than New England, but you get like quicker turns and still really good spread. And same with like the Midwest. Like it's like those are really quick turns, but they're really like cheap to get into, so you don't have a lot of holding costs, and there's less risk there, and you can turn them quick. It's every market's different, but every market has their pros and cons, I would say.
So, what kind of research did you do on the Charlotte market that attracted you there, moving from Florida and stuff like that? Did you relocate because of another job, or you had family, or what was kind of the big need to transfer there?
Yeah, so I was born in Charlotte. I only lived here
Oh, okay.
like, 2 years or so, and then slowly moved up to New England with family. So I've always visited and like just came back. I'm a Panthers fan. Yeah, like
I'm sorry.
God.
I'm
Yeah, no,
so
sorry.
sorry. You know what I mean?
This is it. I think this year they're gonna be good. I think this year, I think they're gonna be competitive this year, finally.
There we go.
Um, at least
I'm a
500. Hopefully,
Cowboys
hopefully.
fan, so we're not feeling much better in a lot of cases. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather almost perform where we're expected than I guess should be going farther and underperforming. But anyway, enough of Jerry Jones would make me depressed, basically. Yeah, so like I would always come back here from and visit, and I just saw like the city growing, and I like the vibe of the South, and I liked like the tenant laws were great, right? And the taxes is better than New England. So I just got sick of New England to the point that I was like, I need some change, and I just looked at Charlotte. I saw it was one of the most fastest growing cities on like the East Coast, and the great weather, like and decided to just come on down here and made it work.
Nice. Yeah, and it's got a lot of growth that can take place there in Charlotte too, compared to a lot of other areas too, plenty of land. Now you mentioned you're doing some land entitlement stuff. Can you talk a little bit how that's working for you and what you're doing for that?
Yeah, for sure. Some of the main things I look for, like when I do fix and flips or new builds or something like that, is I look at fix and flips with like enough acreage that you could subdivide the land off of it, either sell the land or entitle it, then sell it, or even entitle it and just build. And same with like new builds, because you can have like these lots come up that someone might not look at it in a certain way, and you get creative and like subdivide it into two lots. So you get a two for one deal. So I love those two for one deals. I have a couple going on right now, where we did a fix and flip and then we subdivided the land as we were doing the fix and flip. And now we have a new build going on as well. And like, not only does it hedge your bets of the initial fix and flip because you just created like much more equity and profit. Now you have like another deal that you can then create a new product or sell it or whatever and have even more equity and profit from it too. So there's a lot of creative ways to do that here, because honestly, there's like a lot of like little hidden gems of land here since like there is more land. That's harder to do in more like tighter
Populated, yeah,
area. Yeah,
populated areas, yeah.
that's the one. Like popular areas like New England or places that have been around for a while because there's just no land, right? If you want land, you got to go like way away from the cities, and then nobody wants to really live there. Um, so here you still have the opportunity, which is good. So that's kind of what I look at for like land entitlement and adding a little cherry on top of like any other projects we're doing.
Yeah, because you could kind of take an acre, let's just use some simple terms. An acre that's
Hmm.
20, turn into two half acres at 15 each, 15 grand a piece, kind of like, right? You add a little bit more value to it, and then you've got a half acre you can build on, provided that it's
Yeah.
entitled that way, right?
Yeah, and if you don't even want to like build on it too, so you buy like land that's not even entitled for like $30,000 and it's an acre, right? And then you split them in half, and all of a sudden both those parcels are now worth 20,000. So you just created like $10,000 of equity. Um, but they're like not entitled to build. But if you wanted to, you can like spend like around choose like 4 grand to like go through the whole process to get it entitled. And then once it's entitled, because it takes a little bit, builders will pay a premium for it. So then you could probably sell those for like 60, $70,000. So then even there, if like you don't want to build, even though there's more profit in building, but you just got to wait longer. But if you're all about speed and velocity to capital, you can just entitle real quick and then sell it to a builder and make great returns that way. We do a little bit of both. It really depends like on the scenario. But it's just
Sure.
a creative way to kind of create some, equity in deals.
Yeah. And when you say by time, does that mean you're going through like the county or the cities to go through that process to retitle that land or entitlement?
Exactly. Yeah. So you usually work with the city or town. Charlotte's great because you can honestly just make a connection with a surveyor. And the surveyor can do everything. Like unlike other states and stuff, like sometimes you got to get like an attorney involved, you got to get an engineer involved, you got to get a surveyor involved, and they all do three separate things, and it gets costly. Like in Massachusetts, I did one, and it was like had three professionals involved, and you had to pay like 12 to $15,000 to just get it done, and it took 6 months.
Oh,
But in Charlotte, it's more in some of the areas around it. You just got to get a surveyor and they can do it all for you. And it usually only costs about, $2,000 to $4,000 after their fees and then the permit fees and all that stuff. And it happens pretty quick, like within like 1 to 2 months with some of them. And then some counties like are even like the same week it can get done. it's really dependent on like the town and the county and the city. But um it's great and it's very like fast and it's I don't know. That's why I like it
Right? Who
here.
doesn't like it fast? Well, it just makes me thinking. I've got a friend who lives in DC, and she's trying to build duplexes on some empty lots in Chicago. And
Yeah.
it's taking over a year, two
Oh
years to
yeah.
even get the alderman to kind of sign off on the build plans. And now it's a new alderman, and now they got to start back. Oh, she got to start back over again to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Why would you
Right.
pick Chicago of all cities? Why don't you do it somewhere closer to DC? You know what I mean?
Well, that's why
Um,
like I had land in Massachusetts that I subdivided. It took six to 8 months to do, right? And I was like, I could build here. I could just sell this for like a great profit. And I'm like, that took 6 months, 6 to 8 months. How long is building gonna take with all like the,
mhm.
them red taping everything? So I sold that pretty quick. I was like, just give me my profit. I created it and you can deal with the rest,
You
builder.
deal with the lion's share. You deal with the lion's share of the headaches, though, too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What's your kind of ideal? I know you've done some stuff. What's your biggest one, and or what are you looking for? Are you like looking like 100 acres that you can subdivide into building lots right now? Because building so we need some affordable homes, or what are you trying? What's your goal for something like that, Wendell?
Yeah, like with land entitlement, it's really project dependent. So it depends like on the area and then it depends on the size and also like the cost. I think the biggest one that we looked at was it was only like 2 acres, but there was an ability to possibly put like 12, basically 6 to 8 duplexes on it, so like 16 units or so.
Oh, nice.
And we were gonna try to entitle it, and just sell off the land probably, or even we were considering building, because we have good partnerships with lenders who can kind of do a domino effect. So you don't have to put too much capital up front. You kind of like start one and then you roll it over and roll it over and roll it over, which is great. Um, and we got like pretty in depth with the town and city talking about it. But when the town and city sent back a 20-page document, this is in South Carolina, by the way. In some places,
Okay.
South Carolina, very like
It's a
particular.
judicial foreclosure state, so it's a little bit more going through
Yeah,
the legal process versus not North Carolina's
it's a little more
non-judicial foreclosure.
straightforward.
Yeah.
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 So they sent back like a 20-page thing, like picking apart our plan and like what you got to add and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, okay, like we'll still consider it. But then you go back to the seller and you're like, hey, this is what we got. Like we're not paying for this land until we entitle it, basically. Like you'll get the price that you want. You just got to wait for us to do this because this is a ton of gray area that if we
Mhm.
purchase it, they might end up saying no to allow us to even do this. Um, and he ended up just saying like, no, I want my money now. And I'm like, okay, well, you're never gonna get your money. Everybody's gonna ask you to do this, but I'll see you in a few months because you're probably gonna come back.
But that's the case. I mean, how few people follow up with deals, but I would say half our deals come from 90 days of follow up, at least in a lot of
Yeah.
cases. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to stay top of mind. You got to catch them in the right mood, the right scenario. Same thing like direct mailers, like just cold calls, etc. Like someone that answers today might be like, "Hell no, I'm not selling my house" or whatever. But then you call them back a month later and they're like in financial distress. Maybe they are now going through divorce or something. Like God bless them, but like then they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I am very interested actually because I need to, get rid of this." So it's all about just like consistency, timing, and staying top of mind on people. Like you're not gonna get a sale like the first time you call someone, and if you do, then it's like pop champagne because that's great.
Now, if you could pull out a magic, you know, what do they call it? Magic lamp and rub the lamp,
Yeah.
right? And fast forward 5 years or 10 years for where your goal is. You know, we've all, I think, as real estate investors, we never retire, but we're always gonna be real estate. But if you could think about a goal that you're trying to accomplish or reach, what's that goal look like? Or have you thought out to where you're at in 5 or 10 years? Or like, I'm good. I got FU money and I'm gonna go F off.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you said, like I think just the way that we're minded, like whenever retire. But I think we all strive to get to the point that we have that FU money that then we can just go and kind of invest where we want to and not have any
Yep.
stress. Like we're just more like angel type investors and just having fun. That's the fun part. That's always the goal. But I would say like I would enjoy, the fix and flip and new build business to just systematically do like 30 to 50 deals a year. that'll be one of my cash flows, and like I'll be not really involved in it too much. I'll be kind of like a
Yep.
chairman overseeing it. Like I'll build it with an employee structure that I'm building people's careers because I think that's super fulfilling, and they're kind of running the
Yep.
show. Um, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with like a lending company on the side, just because lending background, I think I don't know, lending's the way to go. I think
It
honestly,
pays to be
it's
the bank, baby. It
it
pays to be the
pays.
bank, doesn't it?
So the goal is to eventually flip over to lending, and I think that's when it gets really fun because then, yeah, math is math, so it just makes sense, and you just can really capitalize on your returns, and then you can also help other people's dreams kind of come true as well. Um, so I think like 5 to 10 years having that fix and flip new build going well. Obviously have some rentals just from here and there picking them up.
Yep.
Having a lending business that's running itself similarly that I'm kind of overseeing, and then from then on, I would enjoy just being able to again have like the peace of mind, the FU money to really just go create businesses that give it more of an impact on society, maybe something to go with investing in other entrepreneurs' dreams or businesses, like angel investor, um, being able to, provide for obviously my family and friends and stuff. And another thing I would love to do is I'm a type 1 diabetic, and that's one of the reasons I got discharged from the military. And that's what kind of propelled me into being an entrepreneur because I was like, I don't want to get chained to a 9 to 5 for health insurance. I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta get through this and get out of that so I don't get stuck there. I would love to give back to like the type 1 diabetic type community, and give back like in some type of medical aspect because I do have a medical background from my schooling. And I think there's just so many ways to try to give back to people that are in need through that. So I'd love to somehow get involved in that.
Yeah, especially with your military background too, helping veterans and stuff like that too. Is,
Yeah.
is something you see a lot of that taking place in Charlotte as well. We used to work with some of the Habitat for Humanity folks out there, building some homes for some of the veterans and giving them to them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. That's great. I mean, that's the thing.
That's
I think
great.
having a bigger picture of where you want to go, you have a goal that you're shooting for, and it's like I understand most of the successful real estate investors they're looking for 3 or 4 different ways of cash flow coming in. It's not just one thing by themselves because I think we'd all agree if you're just doing one thing and one thing only, you kind of get bored or dull with that
Yeah.
versus the lending and the rental and stuff like all sorts of different cash flow kind of works well together in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And I will say like you see all those on social media and stuff. People say like millionaires have whatever lines of income, whatever. But I will say that you want to always focus on one thing to get it actually working, right? You can't just like start something up and then go start another thing up and then go start another thing up because none of them are going to go far. So you want to
Yep,
always focus on one thing, get it going. Like for example, for mine, I want to get the fix and flip kind of going systematically. It's already almost there. I just got to start hiring people. Like we're doing
sure.
pretty well. But then at that point, you can start like looking at other businesses. But if you're trying to like hop here and trust me, every real estate entrepreneurs period have shiny object syndrome. So you got to kind of just pick your niche and just go with it until you feel super confident that it is kind of boring and you're making like good money from it. That's probably the point that you can like start exploring other things as long as that can run itself without you. Um, but yeah, I mean, the goal is to always have not all your eggs in one basket, multiple streams of income, and that's how you can really grow and have a lot of fun.
Well, and that's the thing is you see a lot of real estate investors who have focused on one niche and one niche only, like the multifamily side of things or buying just high-end REOs. They're really struggling right now with the way the market's changed. Have you experienced
Hmm.
any kind of growing pains with the current economic status?
Oh yeah, for sure. Luckily for us, like we've always been super conservative with our underwriting. I think that's just from being a lender. Like I'm a pessimist with underwriting, right?
Yeah.
I'll like look at like
Not the
comps.
best thing is going to happen. What's the happens when the worst thing happens, right?
Yep. Yeah, yeah. So I underwrite with everything like base case, best case, and worst case. I mostly look at the base and worst. Best, I'm like, that's not gonna happen because I'm a pessimist. But like, if it happens, I'm like, let's go. And yeah, with the market turning, I mean, it's flipping, right? So in the past like 2 months, I think it's changed. It's 20 something percent from like more sellers than buyers. So now it's a buyer's market by like 500,000 people. I think it's like 1.9 million sellers and 1.45 million buyers. And you could
Yeah,
feel it. Like it
exactly. You
was
hit the numbers right on there, buddy. Yeah, exactly.
And it
Economic wise,
was,
yeah.
yeah, and it was quick. Like it wasn't like within like a couple months. Like it went from like a seller's market that was hard to sell because of the interest rates to all of a sudden now it's a buyer's market that's still hard to sell because of interest rates. So like not only are you dealing with the interest rates and the home prices, you're dealing with less buyers that are way more picky now. So I think the way you need to approach it is just be way more conservative with like your underwriting. Just like be a pessimist a little bit, like look forward more than back. So if you're looking at comps, like don't look a year back anymore. Like I keep it at 6 months most, and then I also look forward. So I look at active listings. I look at how long they've been on the market. I look at what they're listing for. You have to like almost undercut them, plan to undercut them because now you're competing a lot more. Yeah, you might have a good product, but it doesn't really matter. You have less buyers. And we're feeling that. I mean, we're feeling that. We have like one listing that's been sitting for 2 months or so. And like you would say like that's that's normal. That's like a healthy market. But like to us, stuff was going for like within a week or so. So it's
Right?
like a big change, right? So you just have to prepare for that and you have to not overextend yourself. And you have to really nail down the ARV. I think ARV is the most important thing right now. Um, because if you overshoot your ARV, plus with the market turning, where I think home prices are actually going to go down like 10 to 15% before it gets better. I'm already seeing it now. You see them slashing. Um, you can't like take the top ARV that you see now. You almost have to prepare like, all right, that's could sell now for 350. It's probably going to sell for like 325. So you need to like prepare for that. And I think as long as you approach it that way, you can save yourself a lot of headache and a lot of money too, honestly.
Well, and it's the thing. We talked a little about markets changing a lot, and while Charlotte has been a strong market, I think every market's going to see its fair share of reduced values just because of days on market leads to people dropping values, dropping
Yeah.
prices. That leads to values coming down. Increased foreclosures lead to values coming down, and so making sure you're buying right. And like you said, being very conservative on the after repair value versus overvaluing it because there's one good comp that justifies something. I think right now, Charlotte, I'm just pulling this up here. Yeah, I think somewhere yeah, they've got it's been pretty stable the last year in Charlotte. Not too much
Yep.
reduction, but they think it's somewhere around 25 to 30% overvalued in a lot of
Hmm.
the markets there for you. So you got to, that first of all, staying out of that higher end home, I think is the big thing. Less buyers for that 500,000 plus, and really staying in that first time home buyers market, like you mentioned earlier on, more affordable stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, like we stay in between, we only our buy box ARV is 200,000 to 500,000.
Yeah.
And I even think it's like when it gets to like 400,000 or so, like we're even like super picky. Because just from flips that we've had going on recently, like if they're in the 200,000s, they move pretty quick. Like I don't feel it, right? The
Right.
second you get into the mid 300s and higher, you can feel like the market change because that's like
Hmm.
it's like almost the point where it's a little unaffordable for some people and people start like being like, you get into like a mortgage of like what, 2,500 plus in that area. So that's a lot of money, like $2,500 a month. Like that's a lot of money to some people. Um, but when you're below that 2,000 range a month, like it's not that bad for most
No.
most of middle America.
Right. And Charlotte's still one of the most affordable markets. I think it's only about four or five times the income of is what the values of the property are for the most part, which is well below like what it is like 8 to 9 times here in Texas of values towards the average income, especially here in Austin.
Yeah.
So that makes it more affordable, which is great. And you've got some industries there, banking and other stuff that's going well in Charlotte, that neck of its call centers. And what else is, of course, you've got the university systems and stuff like that too.
Yeah, we got like some tech stuff coming too, which is good. Lowe's,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
big,
Everybody always
big,
seems to forget about the Golden Triangle there in North Carolina with high tech. They think
yeah.
about Austin or San Jose, but they forget about Charlotte. I don't get it, or North Carolina anyway.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, people that haven't been to Charlotte, like if you go there, you'll be like, wow, like this is Charlotte now. It really has changed over 10 years. Like if you go on Google Street and you go back 10 years ago and like drive around Charlotte, you'll be like, oh, okay. And then you go to today, you'll be like, holy smokes. It's like totally different. It's insane.
So I have to ask a couple questions, very important. So being originally from there, moving back there, are you a big NASCAR fan? Are you drinking some moonshine on a regular basis?
No, I'm not. I think when I was a kid, I used to love playing the NASCAR games and stuff.
Yeah.
And I need to, I mean, it's on my bucket list. I want to go to like a NASCAR like race. They look so fun. and people, some people might say like all they do is turn what left. It's like
Yeah, those
okay,
four
but like
left turns. You're just like,
it's it's about the like the atmosphere and stuff, and it looks really
yeah.
fun, and it's like it's good old America, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's something I definitely got to try out for sure.
So I went a few years back when I was in, spent some time there in Charlotte. I actually went to the All-Star Shootout there at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that people pay for all their stuff, the big RVs, I think you
Mhm.
should just go set up a tent there and attract private lenders to fund all your deals. You know what I mean?
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, unless they're taking loans out for those RVs, which could be, I don't know. Then I'll be the lender. I'll lend you. And then
uh,
you can be there to be like, who's defaulting on their RV loan? You can
yeah,
buy the loans.
exactly. I've had to buy some RV paper before back in the day. That's the truth there. Because there's a lot of that taking place right now. RVs are getting foreclosed on and repoed left and right in a lot of cases
Oh
out there.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
when you how are you funding most of your stuff? Is it hard money, private lenders? What's kind of been your preferred bag to fund your fix and flip stuff?
Yeah, so when we started, it was mostly just all hard money and our own self-funded.
Hmm.
Um, there was some points where I would just like buy stuff cash myself as well. Now it's a mix of everything. So we'll raise capital from people that want to just get some
A flat return.
passive flat returns, maybe from like the self-directed IRA or just from, just money that's in the bank. And then we'll couple that with like hard money. So we're basically coming nothing out of pocket, but we're giving returns back to the investor and um, also like the hard money lenders obviously making returns and stuff too. So
Yeah,
like that's kind of like how we've been funding it lately. We do use some of our capital as well if we have to move fast. But those are the two ways that we've been doing it right now.
makes sense. Hard money in the first lien position, private investors in the second lien, kind of mezzanine.
Yeah, it
In the fund.
depends.
Yeah,
If the hard money lets them be in the second lien, like we'll do it. But for most of the time, it's just a promissory, promissory
hmm,
note, and we'll like personally guarantor it. Um, but yeah, it really depends. It depends on the scenario. It depends on the investor too. Like some of them want the second lien, but some hard money lenders like no, you can't have a second lien. So
right.
you give and take, and you figure out who to place in the right spots for the
Yeah.
investments.
Where are you seeing hard money lenders lend at as far as a percentage of ARV? Are you still seeing 70 or is it down to 60s or 65s? I know it varies by project, but in a ballpark average of what you've seen.
Yeah, so it's totally experience based, especially in this market. Like they're really hedging on the experience. So what I get like isn't the same as like someone that's just
Sure.
starting. So I get sometimes up to like 75% of LTARV, and they'll go up to like 92.5% of loan to
Purchase price.
cost or
Okay.
LTV sometimes. Some has even offered like 100%, but honestly, I'm smart enough from being in the lending background that I'm like, if they're lending to me at that, how many people are they lending to? And like, are they even going to make it like as a lender? You have to
Right.
understand that lenders need to make money. The ones that come at you and are like, we'll lend the whole thing 100%. It's like, that's cool for you, but like, what happens when 6 months into your project, they go belly up and then you're like, and then they're all of a sudden like asking for their money back because they got to pay back their capital partners. Like that's what you got to think about too, especially in this market because you see a lot of hard money lenders come and go because they lend horribly.
Yeah,
But I would
I
say
was
like
dealing with I was dealing with a deal just like that the other day on a note deal where the lender defaulted. This was on a multifamily project, an $8 million loan. They had
Mhm.
$1 million sitting in escrow for the repairs. Well, then the hard money lender used that on other projects
Oh yeah,
versus keeping it in an escrow account. They put it in their freaking public checking account basically versus keeping it available.
yeah,
And then they were requiring the borrower to make their big mortgage payment, and then they were going to fund the draw off their mortgage payment. I'm like, something's wrong here. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. But like, I would say like if it's new builds and stuff, they go like 60, 65, sometimes 70% LTARV, and then everything's always usually 90 to 95% LTC, which is loan to cost. It's basically like how
Right.
much money they're giving you up front. And then fix and flips, yeah, it can go up to like 75% loan to ARV, sometimes 80 if they get aggressive. And then I get rates at like some lenders are crazy. They're giving me like 8.5%.
Nice.
They gave me like 9%. And I just closed a primary home at 8.25% because I had to use a bank statement loan. So like I'm getting hard money at like my primary home, uh,
That's pretty good. That's
which is
pretty good, man.
which is wild. But I will say this, like when the market's hard, it's hard for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So that means that lenders are hungry because there's less deals out there and they have to get deals to provide for the capital partners that they locked in to promise this return for years, right? So even if you think that you're a newer investor, like you have leverage, talk to a few hard money lenders, get quotes, have them battle each other. Because you can surprisingly get that, like, say they offer you 12% and 3 points in the beginning. I guarantee you can get it down to like 10 and a half with like 1.5 points. Easy. You just have to like be confident in yourself, be able to, work with them and build a relationship. And then once you get a good hard money lender and you can build a relationship with them and do multiple deals with them, that's when it gets fun because then they really treat you well. They start giving you better terms again and again because they trust you. Um, and that's when it gets fun, honestly.
Love it. It's also about knowing your numbers too, because I'm sure you probably have a number as far as okay, light repair versus a heavy rehab. What are you seeing as far as your budget wise with repairs? Have the prices gone up on things? Are you still saying the same thing about if it's just like painting carpet in a house with appliances? Where are you kind of figuring your budget at for things?
Yeah, like so if it's like it depends on how big the house is, but say it's
Sure.
like a typical like 1,200, 1,300 square foot ranch and it's a grandma clean and we're just doing like a full cosmetic rehab of like
Getting
kitchen,
rid of the
baths.
pink tile, the pink pet that there's
Yeah,
no tile in
get rid of the
there.
carpet in the bathroom. Uh you're probably looking at like $40 a square foot is usually what we pay if there's no like capital expenditures like roof, HVAC, windows. Every time you hit one of those, you add an extra $5 per square foot usually. And then if it's a full gut, it's just automatically it's like 70, $75 a square foot and sometimes even more. If it's just light, like literally you're just painting and floors and maybe adding some hardware and fixtures, like 20 to $30 a square foot. Um, but that's normally where it's at for me. It has gone up a little bit because of the market and the tariffs kind of did some weird stuff, which, I think the tariffs are good, but obviously we're going to feel it as an economy at first. I think it's going to
Yep.
get better. And like for building, like build costs and stuff, like it went from, a certain square footage, it probably went up like 10%, like not crazy, but like enough to be like, okay, now I need to underwrite even more conservative. So it's important to keep a pulse on, what your GCs are charging, and talk with them, communicate with them, build relationships with them. Like, take them out to eat, take them out to dinner. Like, understand their business too, because they're trying to run a business and they're not just trying to like up the price on you. Like, there's expenses and there's, certain income they have to make too. So it's just important to communicate, figure out the details, understand the numbers, and underwrite with the right numbers, right? And the right data.
Makes a lot of sense there, definitely. Now you are also the host of the Real Estate Take podcast. What's been the biggest surprise on the podcast since you started producing it?
I think I just love talking to people that are like-minded, like even having you on the show and like discussing notes. Like I've always been interested in notes. And the way that you broke it down was like Barney style and just made it like click, right? And I've like read books, listened to videos, and I was like, I don't understand how this even works. Uh, but
I'll
then
take
talking to
that.
you,
I'll take that. Thank you.
yeah, and then talking to you, I was like, oh, this makes total freaking sense. Because you related it. You related it to like wholesaling and related it to just like fixing up a property, which is exactly, it's the same thing. You're fixing up something and making it better. But yeah, I think just talking to people that are in so many different niches, have so many different mindsets and so many different specialties in like one space, like real estate, you can do so many different things. It's just awesome to hear everybody's ideas, what they're doing, what they're changing. And I've learned so much from it. And I think that's just like the best thing is always try to be educating yourself, right? But
Yeah.
also not to the point that you're like, again, don't have shiny object syndrome. Pick one thing and kind of focus on it. You can learn about other things as it goes, but pick that one thing, focus on it, and then put that other stuff in your back pocket to know like I want to eventually try to do that, right? Um, but yeah, it's been great, and I'm sure it's been the same for you, like talking to
Yeah.
people. It's just awesome to hear
Yeah,
numerous
totally. Totally,
numerous stuff.
definitely is. What do you have on tap for the last 4 months of the year? It's hard to believe that 2025 is almost two-thirds of the way over, man.
Right? No, yeah, true. Let's see. I am starting a lending company. I know I'm saying like don't have shiny object syndrome, but I've got my fix and flip company and new build to the point that it feels good enough that I can start doing that. So that'll be awesome. That's coming into play like early next month into next month, and I'll start building that.
Nice.
And then just wrapping up the year strong, right? Trying to get some more deals on the contract that feel good. Don't overextend myself because I feel like the end. I feel like the market's hitting a turn that like you need to be pretty careful, but never just stay on the sidelines, right? Always try to get into deals because I think it's a great time to always buy and always to sell. You just have to make it work. Um, so just trying to finish off the year strong, build that company, continue systemizing what I got going on now, and just enjoy the holidays.
There you go. There you go. Are you with your lending company? Are you going to be pretty much primarily there in Charlotte or North Carolina to start off with, and then grow from there, or what are you thinking?
We'll lend everywhere. Yeah, we'll lend
Yeah.
everywhere. So I got capital partners that will lend everywhere. Except like a few places. Like I won't really touch.
New York probably or California, just in
Yeah,
case.
like New York, New Jersey's a little tough. California is. Florida is tough. I think Florida is like kind of a state that's just it's a bubble in itself and it's bursting because of insurance.
Yeah.
So those are hard. And then like, like New Hampshire and there's another spot like Vermont sometimes. But for the most part, pretty much everywhere. And the deal makes sense. Like we'll lend to it. But it's mostly just residential investing. So 1 to 4 units. We're not quite doing the 5+ units yet, even though I love those. But the capital partners and stuff they're a little bit too nervous about the commercial
Yeah.
space, and there's a bubble that's popping there too because of balloon, and you see a lot of syndicators getting into trouble right now because the
Yeah.
banks are like, hey, it's time to bring that interest rate up to 6-7%. You were at a 2, and then all of a sudden the cash flow is gone. And they're
Yeah.
like, please,
Right.
can we extend it? And they're like, nope, we're gonna take the property because there's so much equity in now. So like banks are making out, right?
Well, but here's the thing. I was listening this morning during my walk talking about how, like last week, Goldman Sachs
Mhm.
handed over the keys on like a $70 million apartment complex back to Royal Bank of Canada. So if you know Goldman Sachs getting kicked in the teeth,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other people. I mean, everywhere there's distress in the multifamily space for sure. It's just one of those things. So, like you said, playing it conservative, knowing your numbers, and then knowing your deal flow is definitely one of the most important things out there. What's the best way for our listeners to follow you or connect with you or see what kind of lending programs you can offer up on their next flip there, Wendell?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the best ways to reach out to me is Instagram. It's at Wendell P. Butler IV because I'm the fourth. Um, and then pretty much all my social media is that. You can find me on LinkedIn with that. And then my website is hhcapitalrealty.com. That has links to like my other businesses that Hammerhead owns, like my fix and flip business, and then soon to be my lending business should be on there too. But yeah, just reach out anytime. I'm always up to, talk with individuals, help people out. As long as you ask great questions and take action from like what I provide you or like explain to you, I'll like you. To be straightforward, if you come to me and you ask me questions, then you don't take action, you keep coming back and asking questions, you probably won't hear from me. And that's just to be blunt. I've had a
Nobody
lot of
like.
people do
Well, you know
that.
what? I am blunt. That's why we did a whole episode a few months back on don't be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Um, But yeah, I love helping everybody. So
Yeah.
just reach out anytime. I try to answer any questions that anybody sends. And yeah.
Go from there. Awesome. Good stuff, buddy. Well, thank you so much for coming on here today, sharing your insights. Looking forward to it. And we'll definitely be in touch on some other great stuff that comes up in the Charlotte or in the Queen City area there for you, buddy. All righty.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me on again, Scott. Well, not again, but we're
Yeah.
speaking again on the podcast, which
Good
is great.
connecting again. Exactly. Exactly. All right, everybody. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closers. As always, take action. Like Wendell said, he gave some great nuggets, great insights on stuff there for you and how important having a lending background can help you find success early on. Avoiding the shiny object syndrome. Go pull out your gun and shoot that shiny squirrel. You don't need that. Focus, ask good questions, but like he said, be prepared to take action. So go out, take that action, and we'll see you at the top, everybody. Bye. Hey, real estate investors, this is Scott Carson. I'm known across the country as a note guy. For the past 20 years, I've been buying distressed assets, primarily non-performing notes on residential and commercial properties. And if you've ever wanted to learn how to dive in to start buying non-performing notes from banks, hedge funds, or other investors like yourself, then there's no greater place than to get the nuts and bolts, the A to Z, the 1 through 99 place to get started is our virtual note buying workshop. We've been teaching this class since 2010 on how to find, fund, flip non-performing notes, how to get banks to call you with deals that you can cherry pick. And no, you don't need millions. No, you don't need a lot of experience to start looking at non-performing notes. We get the lists of notes from banks, hedge funds on a regular basis, not one or two or three or four, but hundreds of deals that we can evaluate and cherry pick. Whether we're looking for performing notes or non-performing notes that we can get reperforming, or non-performing notes you can foreclose and take back, whatever your niche or whatever you would like to focus on, we can help make it happen at the virtual note buying workshop. It's a 3-day class. Our next one is April 18th to the 20th. It's actually online live via Zoom. You get signed up by going to notebuyingfordummies.com. That's notebuyingfordummies.com. Day one is all about how to find these assets. How do you find asset managers? How do you find lists of people to reach out to that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on postcards or letters that you waste money on? We don't do that. Day two is all about raising capital and marketing and how to create a business that feeds itself, that you can do part-time, 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, depending on what your focus is. We'll show you a game plan to achieve deal flow coming in on autopilot versus you having to send a ton of money. And also, we'll show you how to raise capital like nobody else does. And then day three is all about the flip. How do we structure deals? How do we evaluate a tape to find the deals from the duds? All right. We'll show you what vendors to use. We'll give you a 200+ page manual, contracts, sample forms, all the stuff that you need to be a lean, mean note buying machine when you get wrapped up. Now, yes, this is live April 18th through the 20th online via Zoom. Get signed up today. We'll send you the replays of the previous online workshop so you can start learning, start evaluating material, and get rock and rolling. And if for some reason you don't like our class, we have a 100% money back guarantee involved with it. If at the end of the first day you don't like what we talk about, you don't think it's impactful, just let me know. We'll refund back your tuition, no questions asked. We don't want your money. We want you to become a note buyer. We want you to become a lien lord. All right. Like I said, if you're tired of dealing with toilets, tanks, and trash outs, you don't want to deal with renters, then becoming a note investor is the path for you. Everybody evolves into a note investor at some point, but there are plenty of opportunities out there. There are millions of non-performing notes that you can cherry pick. No, it's not all junk. It can be small value all the way up to $1 million homes or $1 million apartments for you. So much opportunity is taking place right now in the chaotic market that we see. And who's going to come out on top? Note investors will. So take the time, get signed up today, April 18th to 20th. Go to notebuyingfordummies.com or go to our website, weclosenotes.com, and sign up for the virtual workshop there. As always, get signed up today. We run discounts all the time. The cost of tuition is you plus your partner or spouse. So get signed up today at notebuyingfordummies.com, and we'll see you at the top.